Welcome to Three Black Guys with the Mic. Spud is in the building along with my man Lamont Hayes and Maynard Scales. We are joined by a very special guest, someone who has been listening to the podcast for a very long time, who has gone from a fan of ours to now we are a fan of his. So we are honored to be able to welcome Stacy Jenkins to our podcast. Stacy, how are you, my man?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing? Thank you.
I am good, man. Thank you so very much for joining us on this podcast. How you doing in this COVID-19 stay at home time?
I'm, I'm coping. I'm maintaining. Just like everybody else, you're finding ways to entertain yourself. You're finding ways to alleviate the stress, and so I'm just doing like everybody else.
How do you alleviate the stress?
Basically, mental health is a passion of mine, and I had I don't want to go too and far. I'll let you guys ask the questions, but I had an incident where I was so depressed, I was just clumped up in the house all the time, and I didn't want to go anywhere. And this lasted for a year, and that mindset.
What year was this?
This was 2008. This was 2017. I'm sorry, 2017. And that mindset, it just it's like a Marine or somebody, a warrior. That mindset kicked in. So I'm cool with this. I'm not good with it, but I'm cool with it. I'm cool with being secluded right now, especially since in 2014 I was in a coma for 2 weeks in Orlando, Florida, because I had H1N1 and double pneumonia. So I'm more susceptible to this than anybody right now.
So before, we dive deep into, the conversation, explain to everyone what Crux Conception is and how that got started. I know you do a lot of stuff with mental health. And so, but what I'm saying, let's start off with what Crux Conception is and how did that get started?
Okay. Crux Conception is a pseudonym for crisis intervention. You would, to be honest with you, can I really tell you how I got the name? Literally?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, you all familiar with Childish Gambino?
Yeah.
Correct. The artist. Well, I read an article on how he discovered his name, and there's a website. It's just like Google. You type in a name, and it generates a name for you. And it's Wu-Tang Clan. It's a Wu-Tang Clan generator. So I typed in the name mental health, need help, and I put it in there, and it came up with Crux Conception. And so I stuck with it. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Well, I could have done that too, huh? I'm changing my name on the show. Next week. All new name for me. Y'all have to call me something different.
No. So Stacy, let me ask you a question, because I know we got a lot that we want to dive deep into. Mm-hmm. I think this is a very important topic and conversation, but we're kind of at an advantage of we know a little bit of your story. So can we go back and you kind of explain to the people who are listening your journey as maybe you should say journey, but you being a police officer and some of the things that you dealt with. Can you kind of just dive into that story a bit?
Yeah, for 24 years, I was had law enforcement, whether on a local or federal level. 5 years as a special agent with the United States government, Department of Homeland Security, and then with 20 plus years with the Fort Wayne Police Department, Fort Wayne, Indiana, primarily as a homicide detective, 2 years gang unit, but couple of years this and that, and as a school resource officer, but primarily it was a homicide detective. And you see a lot. You see a lot, and they say that the only deaths that really affect you are child deaths, and I really didn't believe that, and now I do. So you take them home with you. You take the kid deaths home with you. But all deaths are important.
Child death in your family?
Hmm.
You had a child death in your family?
No, it's a case in Indiana. It made national headlines. It was in Delphi, Indiana. 2 girls on February 14th, 2014, I believe. No, I'm sorry, 2017, I believe, in Delphi, Indiana, wanted to play this game. It's like a Pokemon type of treasure hunt game. And they were in Delphi, and they went there, and this man killed him. And
was that the Slender Man was that the Slender Man thing?
Yes, that was he was on a railroad track, and matter of fact, one of the little girls recorded him and saying, "Down the hill, girls, down the hill." Well, myself and another detective went up there to help out in the case. We were doing door knocking and canvassing, and along with federal agents were there. And now put it like this: when they can, if they can tell, the government can tell where you at right here and there. Believe me, trust me, they can. All you gotta do is make a phone call from where you're at right now, and that's locked in somewhere in a tower. And so that's how they know they're tracing our steps and our movements for this corona thing. But anyway, we went down there, and I can hear those little girls because I heard the full tape, not just the media version tape, but I heard the girls screaming, "No, we don't want to go down the hill. We don't want to go down the hill." And they were crying. And there wasn't you had state troopers, federal agents, you had some hardcore chargers in that room, and there wasn't a dry eye in that room hearing that actual live little girl pleading for her life.
Yeah, that's interesting because so many of those guys, like you said, are hard chargers, and yourself or whoever it may be, we all got family, you know what I'm saying? We have children, or we have brothers and sisters, we got loved ones, and I think it's only human to feel that kind of way. So yes. You had this long career, family, in fact, is in law enforcement, and you came to a point where you were in distress. Tell me about that. Wow.
Yeah, that's bringing back some memories. Yes, I'll never forget June 14th, 2017. The day before that, I'd experienced some severe back pains, some muscle spasms. They were so hard and so painful that when I went to squad meeting that day, I was literally in tears because it hurt to sit. So I took a sick day, went and saw my doctor, and he gave me 3 shots in my back and gave me painkillers, prescription painkillers, and prescription muscle relaxers. And unbeknownst to him and unbeknownst to myself, these muscle relaxers, monoxynol, are known to cause bipolar effects in rare cases. And accompanied with stress, that's going to happen. So, I'm in bed, I'm relaxing, everything's okay. I hear that, then I get a call from my fellow gang unit members. I used to be in the gang unit, but we kept kept a positive relationship, and so they called me and told me that one of my daughters, twin daughters, one of my daughters was arrested in a vehicle pursuit with the gang unit. She was a passenger. They got her out. She cooperated. They wanted me to come get her. They didn't want to arrest her. They said, "Jinx," that was my nickname, "come and get her, man. We don't want to arrest her." I was so pissed. Excuse me for saying pissed on the air, but I was so upset and so perturbed that I said, "No, keep her ass in jail." Literally, that was my words. Keep her ass in jail. And I was so pissed that she threw my name up. My daddy's Detective Jenkins. I was so pissed that she used my name. I said, and put in the report, she snitched too. And that's how pissed I was.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Unbeknownst to me, some family members bailed her out, which was good. And then I found out that she went to work. Some girls found out that she did cooperate, and they went to her place of work, drug her out, beat the crap out of her. Then I also found out a week prior she was a victim of an assault, sexual assault. And so, man, I'm thinking, so I'm waking up still with the medication. Everything's cool. But then I wake up all of a sudden. I feel like I was just like, man, you need to die. You don't even deserve to live. You're a piece of shit. excuse my language, but as I said, like what Malcolm X said, sometimes you have to curse sometimes because you're just so frustrated you can't think of anything, constructive to say with your anger. So I woke up and I'm just thinking that I want to die, and so I take more pills. I started taking pills. I still took all those pills, the painkillers and the muscle relaxers. Then I'm sitting around the house, nothing's happening. So when they say don't drink alcohol, it thins the blood, and then So anyway, I took a glass of vodka, an 8-ounce glass of vodka, drunk it straight. And then I'm starting to feel a little woozy. So I'm getting in my car. And then when I get in my car, I'm going. And by the grace of God, the only thankful thing I think that night that I didn't hurt anybody. But I literally, to this day, see myself getting in my Jag, hitting my sunroof so I can keep the air on me so I can stay alive. So I go to the park and kill myself because I didn't want to kill myself in front of my wife. We just built a house, and I didn't want that to be a memory. So I was driving to the park, had my loaded 357 Magnum, having to kill myself. Luckily, by the grace of God, I passed out. Civilian saw me, but I was in my unmarked car, and I was in my unmarked squad car. He saw the plate, Indiana police badge on it. Called in. Cops came, lights and sirens. Because all they know at this time is you have one of their own unconscious in a car. And so they come lights and siren. And when they get there, knock on the door, roll down the window, ask where am I going? I said, Krieger Park. They said, for what? I looked at them and said, I'm going to kill myself. They said, have you been drinking? I said, I took a shot of vodka, a glass of vodka. And I also told them that, I had a bottle of painkillers and some muscle relaxers, and I wanted to end my life, and then I lifted up my shirt and showed where the doctor gave me shots in the back and said, hey, I just want to die.
Let me ask you a couple of questions. Yeah. I'm the one that's not that smart. So, in your opinion, the cause of you wanting to commit suicide, was that from the pain pills? Or was that from the pain in your back? What would you say made you to commit suicide?
Yeah, from the monoxynol I don't know if it's in my book. Well, I don't want to give you no plugs, but it's known to cause bipolar effects in rare cases. And when I after all my ordeal, and I went to a psychiatrist. And when we went over my medication, she noticed that and did research and noticed that the monoxynol was known to cause bipolar effects, because the only stress I had in my life at that time was that phone call, come get your daughter, because 24 years in law enforcement, you've never seen on my desk any pictures of family, wives, or me vacations, nothing like that. I never did that. I always wanted to separate my personal life from my personal life or my professional life. And you never heard me talk. Matter of fact, one of my guys on my gang unit, Marty, called and we were talking. He said, yeah, man, I wondered why, because you never talked about your kids, everybody else did. And he said, and out of 24 years, he's the only person ever noticed it. Maybe other people have, but I wasn't that type to put pictures of wives or my wife or anything, or kids or vacations and, brackets on the NCAA tournament. That wasn't me. I was just straight up had things to do, pictures of suspects, and that's how I was.
So let me ask you this question. So as you mentioned, basically, for 24 years, you've been in law enforcement at this point, and you've seen some things, homicides, etc. Do you feel like you previously had issues with mental health? Looking back, do you feel like, oh, you know what? Then I was having a mental health issue and I didn't understand it, or?
Yeah, see, well, things, they say that stress is a form of mental health. I'm a PhD candidate working on my PhD forensic psychology, and I have a master's in forensic psychology and a bachelor's in psychology. So obviously I love psychology. So what it was, it goes back, it could have gone back to two things. I mean, if you really want to do a forensic background and cut open everything, in 2014 in Orlando, Florida, I was giving a speech on child or an active shooters in school. Next thing you know, I gave that speech, and it goes back to everything today, because I'm like, how can things spread? It's so fast. This is BS. But I gave that lecture. I remember sweating so bad. Sweating the night before. I thought I'd urinated the bed, because we had to cut. My wife went with me, and we had to call and get the maid to change the sheets. I gave, and I mean, there were like 100 people speaking. That's like I said, I was an amateur speaker at that time, doing amateur work, and so I really went, and I wanted to get this. I wanted to do this. This wasn't no, hey, let's give the people their money back. No, I was hungry. So people came up to me, about five at a time, total like 200 people came up to me, and they shook my hand, asking me out, and they're noticing I'm sweating. Well, anyway, we heading back to Fort Wayne. I didn't want to get sick on the plane. I didn't know what I had. I thought I just had a cold. Next thing you know, I'm waking. I said, let's go to the emergency room, get some penicillin or something. Next thing you know, they got me my shirt off, got these things all over me, these stickers, and the nurse starts asking questions. Then she asked a question I'll never forget. She said, have you ever, she was talking sexual questions about my sexual preference. And then she said, have you ever tested for HIV positive? I was like, what? Next thing you know, I wake up and it's 2 weeks later. Wow. Come to find out, I'm seeing my mom, my dad, my sister, my wife, and they were all in Indiana. And I seen my twin brother. He's an FBI agent, and I really can't say where he's at, but I haven't seen him 2 years. He's over the bed, and I'm like, this ain't good. And I got a thing in my mouth, and next thing you know, I heard them say, Tracy, that's my twin. And I'm like, where's my brother? And nobody could hear me. And I'll never forget, I took that thing that's in your mouth that you see on like Chicago MD. They shoving that thing down your throat. I took it and I just snatched it out, and I said, "Where the FF is my brother?" And they all looked at me. Next thing you know, I see a doctor slam his hand on the wall, and these lights go off, and it looked like a red piece of drippy sushi just hanging down from the tube, and I passed out again. Come to find out, I had H1N1 and double pneumonia. So I know what this is going like. But before that, I was out of oxygen. My brain was literally out of oxygen before they put me in a coma for over 7 minutes, 6 to 7 minutes. And they say that brain damage, and that was in 2014. And they say that there may have been brain damage from that loss of oxygen, because I left the gang unit, went back to homicide, because on the gang unit, you got to be fast. You got to be quick, fast. Who's that? Search that Facebook, infiltrate that, and all I could do at that time, my memory was getting so, like I couldn't know who Pookie or Ray Ray, or I couldn't know what their Facebook name was, their baby mama name was. I couldn't remember anything. So I went to homicide.
You're a damn good, cop to know all the names, the Pookie, the Ray Ray, and their mama's name. Hey, you knew Pookie, Ray Ray, and the baby mama name. I ain't mad at that.
I know where the baby mama lives.
I was going to say, Spud, I was going to ask.
Wait, can I say something? Spud reminded me of this story my training officer told me one time over dispatch. They said, the tones went off. They said, yeah, we just had a signal 53. It was a robbery in progress. Suspect is a male, black, dark clothes, dark hood, dark shirt. And then so the sergeant went up to me and said, damn, we'd catch a lot of people if we can catch that male, black, and all but dark clothing. I thought about it for me. I was like, oh, because that's the typical description. But, that must have been a cop thing. Y'all can edit that out, because you have to, every time a crime goes where it's a physical crime and they have a suspect, they always have a suspect description, the male, black, male, white, and they give the physical description. So,
well, first of all, we're not going to edit any of this, because this is
edit that.
No. Here's my question, and here's where I'm kind of want to figure out. You may or may not be able to answer this question.
Okay.
And we may have asked this already. But of all of your years in law enforcement, not just that one case with those two young girls, but just all of the death, violence that unfortunately in those lines of work, do you think that has an adverse effect on a human's mental capacity?
It does.
Of damage that is done over time?
It does, but then again, so does so does being an ER nurse or ER doctor. Somebody grabbing them. Somebody ain't gonna look at me and say, "Hey, don't let me die, don't let me die." But somebody gonna look at a doctor with a bullet in their chest or something in their neck, saying, "Hey, don't let me die." So to me, they got the harder profession, and I see why that. I don't know. Let me take that back. I don't see why that doctor committed suicide, why she committed suicide, but you can see I can relate to the stress that she was going through.
Right. So,
and I think I was just trying to get to really quickly, and I'll pass the ball, is just trying to, and I know it's hard to self-diagnose a mental situation. That's probably something that you need to go to a medical professional if you have. And I hope we get to that portion of the conversation of how this can help people down the road if they think they have a mental situation on what they can do or what maybe some of the warning signs. But again, I was just trying to grasp and understand, because all of the years in law enforcement, and I know guys that are in law enforcement, and that's a really hard psychological job that you take home every night, of people only call you when most of the time there's distress. They call you when they got nobody else to call. You know what I mean?
You're right. They don't call you when you singing happy birthday.
Exactly. They don't call you for that,
No.
And that has to be a very tough job, you know what I mean, overall. So if nothing else, I definitely want to say thank you. I've never been to Fort Wayne, but again, I understand the people in that town, when they got in trouble, they called your phone. You know what I mean?
So, because I remember I had, like, to this day, I had a list of people. I'll call them. I didn't call them informants. I called them, co-ops. As they were giving me a co-op.
Cookie and Ray and their baby mama.
Yeah, and I didn't want to sign them up. I never signed them up. Because I know how the system goes, and there's a saying that they say on the TV show The Wire. They say good police or real police, and that's an East Coast term, but a lot of states, I like to thought of myself as I left. I didn't want to think of myself as leaving a legacy or retiring with a legacy. I wanted to be known as being good police.
So, Stacey, how did you go from being a police officer to a motivational speaker?
This was it. It was in my speaking. It was in my blood. I've been. No, let me say speaking is not in my blood. Let me take that back.
So psychology is in your blood.
Psychology is in my blood, and teaching is also in my blood. And I started in 2014. And, for everybody wants to know, like, why, I spoke 34 times last year across the world, and they want to know how you got all the speaking gigs. How'd you, get all those jobs and get this and that? And I said, one, I'm retired now, so I got a lot of time on my hands. Two, there's out of those 34 speaking gigs I got, I put in for my camp and my used to be my former agent back then. We put in for over 399 speaking gigs, and I only got, after everything was said and done, only 34 came back to me. But I don't want to say only 34 because that's a lot. You traveling around the world 12 times a year, that's a lot, and that's enough. But I liked it, and so I got into it, always been into it. And next thing you know, I found a reason or a method to take my knowledge and put in to someone else. Like, for instance, and I don't want to say I'm good at it, but I got a gift of doing that. I got a gift of infiltrating in a way, or being insurged into a situation. There's I wrote a speech about how to deal with stress, and it was for chefs. and because Anthony Bourdain committed suicide. I don't know if you're familiar with Anthony Bourdain, but the 2 years ago they had a convention for chefs in New Orleans, and I gave a speech about how to deal with stress, how to see the outcome of stress, and how to build a positive wall around you. So someone contacted me in the technology field and said, "Hey, you think you can do the same thing?" I said, "What? There's no stress in the tech business." And all of my speeches, what I usually like to do, I like to do research. So I interviewed close to 1,200 people in the tech field, and I found out, wow, there's some stress. They did an anonymous Q&A and sent it back to me, and I'm like, there is stress. So I came up with the speech. Tech lives matter, hands up, don't reboot. And it's talk about dealing with stress in the tech field, but they don't call it Tech Lives Matter. We don't call it that anymore because it got too controversial with sponsors. So we just call it the message.
So do you speak on a variety of topics, or is mental health your okay?
Yeah,
I saw. I looked at a couple of your speeches. And read the one on your slide share on active living.
Oh, okay.
Which was really so when this whole COVID-19 thing is over and we're able to get back into people's households and auditoriums and arenas and offices, what is it that you want? I mean, how can people hire you or get you to come to their
they go
place?
To it's just word of mouth, and they go to my they can check me out. What I do is event organizers, they'll either it's by word of mouth or, and you know what, I'm not saying I'm big and I'm a Tony Robbins type stature, but when you're good when they start coming at you. So I had a couple of people, and luckily I got a lot of people on my side that say, hey, somebody said you talk you talk too fast, or you do this and that. So you go to them and you say, hey, this is my style, this is who I am. But I do speak in Europe a lot. So one thing I do, I learn to talk slower, because although they know English, it's not their, most of the people there, it's not their mother tongue. So
I'm gonna say something to you, then I'm gonna leave it alone.
Oh, go ahead, Spud.
Now, I don't mean this with, no disrespect. I mean this with love, but I mean, I've seen this in a couple of your speeches, but in a couple of your speeches, you say you start out actually by saying that you're insecure. I don't know. You actually say you don't even know why. That is. I mean, and that's a journey that that you have to figure out on your own. But I want to challenge you with that because you are just as good as Anthony. I mean, as Tony Robbins or Zig Ziglar or either Brian Tracy or anybody like that. I mean, your story is just as impactful and your message is just as impactful as anybody else's. So you don't have to say, or preface anything by saying you're not that big or, you're insecure. You're a good dude. You have a bachelor's and a master's and working on a PhD in psychology. And that's just as good as any other motivational speaker from Les Brown to anybody else out there. Because Les Brown was sleeping in the Penobscot building in the city of Detroit before he got on. So, you are just as good as any of those people, that is on. And that's why, we wanted to make sure that we had this conversation with you and that we gave you the opportunity to be able to say this to people because your story and your message, even your Dr. Dre thing and your active, listening, those are impactful and those things actually help people, out, man. So big yourself up because you definitely deserve it.
Thanks, Spud.
So let me interject.
Is it okay if I call you Spud? I mean, I didn't know if because
I would be mad if you called me something else.
Oh, okay.
Let me interject real quick. So we wanted to have this conversation because the month of May is Mental Health Month. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I think as we've been talking about through this whole thing, that the coronavirus issue has created a lot of anxiety. I was listening to the radio just the other day, and there was a discussion from the police chief that domestic violence is up. That's something that we discussed on the show 1, 2, 3 weeks ago, possibly, and that people are obviously feeling the effects of depression from isolation from their social circles. It's you know, we're glad that you came to talk about it, because it's not something to be embarrassed about. You know, help is needed. No. You get the help. So in your local cities, in your local states, there is typically a Department of Health at the city and state level. And, you know, we would encourage people to seek out those resources. Many times your jobs may, in fact, offer something called EAP. They may come in different names, employee assistance programs, and you can speak with somebody. And it's, you know, I got to say, it's been a challenge for me to deal with certain kinds of stress. And I think we as black men often find ourselves saying, you know, this is embarrassing, or we don't have time I don't have time to be depressed, or, you know, black people don't commit suicide, or things like that. And we just, you know, we need to take time. And also what I found out, you know, we do the show, but other friends during this thing is come to a point where you just got to, like, yo, let me call so-and-so and check on him. Let me, you know, I know Lamont had a hard time getting them tomahawk steaks, and that would depress him. So let me reach out.
Yo, why did you see that bus coming, Spud? You was doing so good, Maynard.
I know the tomahawks. If you ain't getting them tomahawks and them 3-pound lobsters on the dry ice, I know how you might feel.
Problem, man. If you want to tell my business, some of the dry ice came through the box and it was a mess. Go ahead.
Stacey, if people want to get in contact with you or find more, you know, about you, how do they reach out, or, you know, how do they get in contact with you? What's the best way for people to
on social media? It's anything Crux Conception, CRUX Conception, CONCEPTION, and it's anything Crux Conception, Twitter, Crux Conception, Facebook, LinkedIn, Periscope, Switcher, WhatsApp. So it's just I made it possible. Yes, sir.
Yo, one last thing. Yo, you told me when we were preparing for the interview that, you know, because of your history as a profiler, I know that you Omega Psi Phi Q man, but you said that you wanted to profile the three of us and tell us what you think we are.
Yes.
You can pass on me. I don't want to be profiled. I don't want to never know who I am.
All right, put it like this. Okay.
I don't ever want to know who I am. I'm fine. I'm fine with not knowing.
No, we gonna find out. We want to know.
Maynard is alpha, definitely alpha. He got that bra Q in him. He got that Q in him, and I think that he, you know what, alphas are cute. It's a flip, you know. You know, Spud, bro, straight up Kappa, man. Straight up.
Spud's a pretty boy.
What is Kappa? I don't know. What does that mean? Is that good or bad?
Yeah, you just smooth, you cool, you know, you like you the one that, you know, you're the one at the bar, you know, back in the day that had the napkin around the drink and the straw. Everybody else,
fancy, pretty, you know, boy.
So you was just cool like that. So, you know,
excuse me while I take my napkin out of my drink.
so Spud is the cool one. So, but you know what? I gotta go back to gotta go back to Maynard. Maynard, I'm gonna give Maynard that Q. Lamont, Sigma. Yeah, Lamont, because you know Sigma, man. You the gated community, you know Sigma straight up, man. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, but no, ain't no sorry about Sigma. You know they cool. That blue, you know, sport that blue is cute, cool. You know, Scottie Pippen of Sigma. You know.
See?
Oh, we appreciate you, man. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And we truly appreciate that. Continue, man. Success. Continue to spread your message, too, man. You know.
Thanks. You too, fellas.
Do it with pride, my brother, man. We
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And everybody remember it's Mental Health Month, May. So.
For sure. All right, man. We talk to you in a minute, man.
All right.
Thank you so very much. All right.
Hey.